Okay, so we are going to do some burn coding for the ICD-10-CM diagnosis codes. Okay, this is a problem out of medical coding in the real world. It's in the Urgent Care and Emergency Department Services chapter, and it's coding question number 2. Okay, we're going to read through this, and then we might make some notes, and then we'll go look up our different burn codes and our guideline. There's a burn guide or a coding guideline for burns and how to sequence the codes. So a 14-year-old male presented to the emergency department after having suffered burns to both hands, arms, and chest. Burns are as follows. I'm going to get a highlighter out right now just to help delineate this stuff. So we have a 2nd-degree burn of bilateral hands. I'm going to highlight 2nd degree in yellow. And that says 6% total body surface area. Okay. 2nd-degree burns of bilateral forearms. So we have another 2nd-degree burn. 6% total body surface area. 2nd-degree burn of upper chest. 10% total body surface area. Also has a small area of 3rd-degree burns on the left cheek. So we'll say 3rd-degree burns on the left cheek. Approximately 1 total body surface area. And then the ED provider performed an E&M with moderate complexity MDM. Okay, so let's get our E&M code out of the way. Okay, so we're going to go into our CPT manual. We're going to go to the very beginning of our evaluation and management section here. And we're going to look through these evaluation management codes to get to the emergency department codes. Let me just move some stuff around so I can move my book up here. Okay, so we just focus on the green titles because those are going to be the main titles we're going to be looking for. And I don't see anything for emergency department in here. We turn the page. Here we are. Emergency department services, new or established patient, page 20. It doesn't matter if they're new or established. Okay. So we get into our page 20, emergency department services. Again, if you're not familiar, make sure you read these guidelines before the codes until you become familiar with them. But in this scenario, the physician did a moderate MDM. So we're going to go look at these for the MDM. Straightforward medical decision making, low, and moderate. So our code is 99284. So let me move that out. I write down 99284. Okay. So that is our visit code for the emergency department. Now we're going to focus on these ICD-10-CM codes. So what you want to do is make sure you pull out your ICD-10-CM book, because that's what we're going to be working in. And first we want to see what the guidelines are for burns, or if there is a guideline. Okay. I know there is, so. But you always want to check this until you become real familiar with it. So again, we're going to be in the chapter-specific coding guidelines. And you're going to look for the chapter that has, I think it's injuries. Okay, so this is, you just kind of scan down the different chapters until you get to the one that pertains to the coding that you're doing. Keep going down here. It's going to go on to the next page. So I turned 2 pages there. Oh. I'm just going to keep scanning down the chapters. Diseases, pregnancy, certain conditions, congenital signs and symptoms, injury, poisoning, and certain other consequences of external causes. That's where we want to be, okay? So we want to find the one for burns, coding burns and corrosions. We're going to go to G25. Put my book over. And I'm going to go to G25 down here. G25. Okay. So if your coding book is not highlighted like mine, and you don't have a tab already up here, you want to do this. Here's the burns. That's where we're going to start. We're going to say coding of burns. And then we're going to highlight. Let's do this too. Let me make a little tab for this, like this. I'm going to do this burns. so we can get to it quickly. Take that little tab. And if you do this as you're working through the classes, when it comes time to take the CPC exam, you already have your tabs in place and your highlights in place. So let's go ahead and I'll put that up at the top here so I can get to it quickly. Okay. Back on there. All right. So we're going to read through this and see what we need to do. So it has sequencing of burns and related condition codes, burns of the same anatomic site, and more on the next page on non-healing burns, infected burns, separate codes for each burn, burns and corrosions classified according to extent of body surface. Then encounters for sequela of burns, sequela with late effect code, and current burns, and use of external cause codes for burns and corrosions. Okay, so let's read through this real quick. Not really quick, obviously, but okay, the ICD-10-CM makes a distinction between burns and corrosions. Okay, the burn codes for the thermal burns, except sunburns, that come from a heat source, such as a fire or hot appliance. Burn codes are also for burns resulting from electricity and radiation. Corrosions are burns due to chemicals. So we're going to do this. So there's two different types. So there's thermal burns and corrosion burns from chemicals. Okay, the guidelines are the same for burns and corrosions. Current burns are classified by depth, extent, and by agent. Burns are classified by depth as first degree. You might highlight this too. Second degree, blistering, and third degree is full thickness involvement. There might be a question on the CPC exam asking you what the different levels are. So if you have that highlighted, it's easier to find. Burns of the eye and internal organs are classified by site, but not by degree. Sequencing. I like sequencing. Sequence first the code that reflects the highest degree of burn when more than one burn exists. Sequence first highest degree, okay, which means third degree, if there's a third degree burn. If there's not, and there's a second degree burn, then you would code the second degree burn first. When the reason for the admission or encounter is the treatment of external multiple burns, sequence the first code that reflects the burn of the highest degree. Again, let's see, sequence first, we'll highlight this whole thing. Okay, when a patient has both internal and external burns, the circumstances of admission govern the selection of principal diagnosis or first listed diagnosis. This scenario we're looking at are all external burns, so we don't have to worry about that. When a patient is admitted for burn injuries and other related conditions such as smoke inhalation and or respiratory failure, the circumstances of admission govern the selection of principal or first listed. I would defer to a provider for this when applicable. Okay. Burns of the same anatomic site. Classify burns of the same anatomic site and or on the same side, but of different degrees to the subcategory identifying the highest degree recorded in the diagnosis. Example, for second and third degree burns of the right thigh, assign code T24.311, which would be for the third degree. Okay, so let's see. Same anatomic site on same side, but different degrees, highest degree recorded. Okay, so this one you might even want to put a line. Let me get a different pen here. The highest degree recorded. Okay. These are just so when we're taking a test, we can reference our notes quickly. Okay, let's go to the next one. All right, so we don't have anything about non-healing burns in our scenario, so we're not going to read that. Nothing about infected burn. Assign separate codes for each burn. When coding burns, assign separate codes for each burn site. Burns and corrosion body region unspecified is extremely vague and they should rarely be used. Your physician should be giving you the location of the burn and the degree of the burn. Codes for burns or multiple sites should only be assigned when the medical record documentation does not specify the individual sites. Okay, so that doesn't pertain to us because we do have the sites. Burns and corrosions classified according to extent of body surface. They did mention body surface in our scenario, so we're going to pay attention to this. Let's see what it says. Assign code from category T31, burn classified according to extent of body surface involved, or T32, corrosions classified according to extent of body surface. For acute burns or corrosions, when the site of the burn or corrosion is not specified, or when there is a need for additional data, it is advisable to use category T31 as additional coding when needed to provide data for evaluating burn mortality, such as that by burn units. It is also advisable to use category T31 as an additional code for reporting purposes when there is mention of a third-degree burn involving 20% or more of the body surface. Codes from category T31 and T32 should not be used for sequela or burns or corrosions. Okay. Category T31 and T32 are based on the classic rule of nines. We have the rule of nines here. In estimating body surface involved, head and neck are assigned 9% each arm, 9% each leg, 18%, and the anterior trunk 18%, posterior trunk 18%, and genital are 1%. Providers may change these percentage assignments when necessary to accommodate infants and children who have proportionately larger heads than adults, and patients who have large buttocks, thighs, or abdomen that involve the burns. Okay, so we're going to look into the percent of body surface, and we'll get into those codes. I do believe that there is a diagram of the rule of nines when we get into the tabular, into the colorful section of the coding book, but I'm not positive, but we'll look for that. Then we also have encounters for treatment of sequela of burns. This is later if they have a problem that's related to the burn, like the healing might cause a scar, and that doesn't qualify for our scenario. Sequela late effect again, and use of external causes. If we know what caused the burn, we're going to go after those external causes for the acute phase, which it sounds like this patient is receiving acute care in the emergency department for this. Okay, so we have our burn highlighted. I would go ahead and put a bookmark or a sticker or a pen or something in that section in case we have to go back to it and refer to it. So first we're going to look for the codes of the burns of the hands. Now, according to our guidelines, the third degree burn would go first. So I'm going to make a note here. So this is one. It's going to be the face burn. Okay. And then we want to go with, all the rest are second degree burns, but we're going to look at the biggest one. So second degree burn of upper chest, 10%. I think that's the biggest percent of body surface. Yep, the other two are 6. So we're going to say second degree burn of upper chest would be the second one. Since both of these are 6%, either one can go third and fourth. So 3, 4, and then fifth, we're going to do that percent total body surface area. Okay, so first we're going to go into our coding book. Let's look here. And obviously we're going to start in the condition as a burn. So we're going to go into burns to look up our codes. Okay, so we're using the corners of our book to get to burns. Let me see where I can get to there. All right, so I have burn here, but I'm not at the beginning. So let's go back to burns. It looks like burn starts here. Okay. So it even gives you some descriptive. Oops, let me focus that in here. Electricity, flame, hot gas, liquid or object, radiation, steam or thermal, T30. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go look after our burn. So the first one, I said I want to do the face first. So we're going to say burn and then look for face. Let me find it in my book and then I will move it over to where you can see it. Well, when you get to burn face, it says see burn head. So I'm going to go after head. Let's see, burn head. Okay, so burn head and face and neck. Okay, this specifies that it was on the cheek. And so if we get to burn of head, we see cheek says see burn cheek. So now we're going to go back to burn cheek. Let's go back to burn on the previous page. And find cheek. Okay. So we get to burn cheek. See, it always redirects you where you need to go. So make sure you follow those instructions. It's a third degree burn, so we're going to write down T20.36. That is not the full code, but we're going to write it down so that we have something to go off of, T20.36. T20.36. Okay, so we'll start there. And then let's go after the chest. So chest is right nearby, I imagine. Chest. And that one was a 2nd degree burn. So we're going to go T21.21. T21.21. And then we have the hands and the forearms. We're in close to F here, so we have forearm. Let's go over here. Again, that was 2nd degree. 2nd degree of the forearm. Let's see, do I have which forearms it were? Let's see. Bilateral hands. So I'm going to do this. This was bilat. And the forearms, what does it say here? Bilateral forearms. So these are both bilat. And both. Okay. So let's go to forearm, and it says left, right. We're going to have to do 2 codes for those because they don't have a bilateral option. Okay. So then we're going to say the left, and it was 2nd degree, T22.212. T22.212. And then the right, 2nd degree, T22.211. T22.211. Okay. Oops, sorry, I did that. Okay. And then we're going to go, oh, I did that in the hands one. This should be in the forearms. So these two are going to have to be switched around. Let's go down there. I got my lines mixed up. All right, let's go to hands. Here we go to hands, down here, hands. Let's see, 2 for those also. So the left 2nd degree is T23.202, so I'm going to go up here, T23, oops, 202, and then the right hand. Okay, turn the page. These you just really have to kind of break them down before you get coding. So the hand, right hand, 2nd degree, T23.291. T23.291. See, I did my hands up there. These are forearms. Okay, so we have all of our areas that are burned. And then we need to go after the extent of body surface. Okay, so we have 1% 3rd degree. Right here, right? That was the cheek. And then we have to add 6% and 6% and 10%. So you'd go 6 plus 6 plus 10 equals what? 22%. 2nd degree. Okay. So we make our notes. So now under burn, let's go to extent of body surface. Let me see if we have that here. Here we go. Again, it's alphabetical, so you're going to go back a page because so we're under burn and then extent percentage of body surface. Less than 10% is T31. And let's see what we have here. So these are all 3rd degree. Okay, all 3rd degree burns. So on this one, we have less than 10% of 3rd degree. We just have 1%. So we're going to go with that T31.0 for this one. Now again, we're not done looking at these codes. We're just jotting down the beginning of them so we can get back into the tabular. And then I think that is it, because they don't have anything for the other degrees. Okay, so just less than 10% was a 3rd degree burn. Okay, let me see if they have anything else in here. Okay, so now we're going to go back to our tabular. And look up in the colorful section, we're going to get to our T's. Oops. We're going to go back to our T's all the way back. Those injury codes. So our codes start with our lowest number is T20. So let's look at that one, T20.36. T20. Okay. So we have T20.22, T20.36 is what we're after. Okay, so it says it requires a, it requires a 7th character when we get down to it. So burn of 3rd degree of forehead and cheek. So other than that 7th character, it's a good code. So what we have to do is we have to go to the boss to see what our 7th character would be. So this is initial, subsequent, or sequela. Since we're in the emergency room, this is acute care, it's going to be an initial encounter. Okay, so we have to get to that 7th character. We have 5, right? We're going to go 6, 7 to get to our 7th character of A. Sorry, that's kind of messy. Okay, then we're going to go to T21.21. We're going to get over here, turn the page. Here we are, T21.21, burn of 2nd degree of chest wall. Again, 7th character. Okay, and then there's an instruction that says use additional external cause code if you have the place and intent of the burn. But let's look at this first. So T21.21. Again, we know it's, again, the initial encounter. So T21, we're just going to put that placeholder in there to get to the 7th character, A. Okay. Next, we're going to go to our, let's see, we have 22 is the next one, and that would be the forearms. So T22.212. Here we got T22.212. Burn 2nd degree of left forearm. 7th character. Well, we have 6 already, so all we need to do is throw an A on there. Right? And since we have 6 on the right, we're going to do that too. A. Okay. Let's go to T23.202. A couple pages back. To our T23.202, burn of 2nd degree of left hand. And that's all we have, 7th character. So in this one too, actually these two, let's make sure 291. Oh, I wrote down the wrong code here. So let's go back to 2nd degree burn of right hand. This should be 202. See? I made an error. 201. So this is going to be an A, and this is going to be an A for initial encounter. Okay, and then we have to do that total surface body area, T31.0. Let's go to T31.0. Oh, here it is. I want to show you this too before we look at T31. Here is that rule of 9's outline. This is what was outlined in the guideline, how they come up with the percentages. Okay, so then let's see, T31.0, burns involving less than 10% of body surface, and notice there is no bubble here, so this is actually the code that we're going to use. So let's put T31.0. Okay, so when we write this out, if we were entering it in on data entry, we would do this one first. Okay, let me get my little dry erase. Okay, it's going to be, it would look like this. So you guys can see the whole thing here. So we would have T20.36XA would be our first one. Then we have T21.21XA is the second one because of the 10% burn. Then we have T22.212A, T22.211A, T23.202A, T23.201A, and then we have our T31.0. Okay, so this would be the sequencing because this is the 3rd degree, this is the 2nd, but it's 10% body surface, and then these are all 6%. all the way down to here, and then our total body surface area would be the last coat. Okay, so I know it's confusing, but on these burns, if you just kind of break it down, you kind of, if there's multiple, like let's say you had a 3rd degree thermal of the arm, right arm, and then you had a 2nd degree corrosion of the left arm. Okay, you're going to have to make sure when you go into the burn, you're going to burn then thermal for the right arm and burn corrosion for the left arm. Okay, and this could happen if somebody was handling chemicals near an open flame and they got the chemical burn on their, their left arm up here, and then when they went to go grab say they knocked over the chemical that burned them and then it caught on fire, and then their right hand, they go to grab something and try and put it out, they could get that thermal burn. Just different scenarios that come up, so keep that in mind. I know it's a little confusing, but just kind of try and work it out when you're doing your coding. I'm a little disappointed that the workbook doesn't have these in the correct order, that the 3rd degree wouldn't be at the top, so keep that in mind. Okay, so that's how we would code for a burn. Let me know if you have any questions.